I was locked in a freezing garage by my sister for refusing to sign Dad's company away. One desperate radio call exposed what she thought was buried. For 36 hours, I suffered in the cold. Then I used the truck radio to reach someone who destroyed everything. The cold bit through my shirt. I pounded on the metal door until my fists went numb. "Nobody knows you're here," Sarah had said before she locked it. My own sister, 28 years old, corporate lawyer, Dad's favorite. She wanted Dad's construction company, wanted me to sign it over. When I refused, she smiled, that perfect practice smile she used in court, and turned the deadbolt from the outside. That was 36 hours ago. The garage had no heat, no water, just Dad's old work truck, some rusted tools scattered on a plywood workbench, and a half-empty can of paint thinner that made my head pound every time I breathed. I screamed until my throat was raw, until I tasted copper. The neighbors were half a mile away on both sides. Sarah had planned this perfectly. She'd been copying Dad's signature for months. I found the practice sheets in her desk the week before he died, pages and pages of Robert Mitchell in slightly different handwriting styles, each one closer to Dad's scrawl than the last. She thought she could forge the transfer paperwork, but she needed me out of the way first. She needed me gone long enough to file everything while I was supposedly on vacation in Oregon, visiting Mom's side of the family. My phone was in the house. My wallet, my keys, Sarah had everything. I should back up, because you need to understand how I got here, how my own sister became someone who'd lock me in a garage in November and leave me to freeze. Dad died 3 weeks ago, a heart attack at 62 while he was on a job site in Sacramento. One minute he was reviewing blueprints with his foreman, the next he was on the ground, dead before the ambulance arrived. Robert Mitchell Construction. Dad built it from nothing 40 years ago with a pickup truck, a toolbox, and a willingness to work 16-hour days. By the time he died, it was worth $4.2 million in assets, property, equipment, ongoing contracts, and a client list that included half the commercial developers in Northern California. Sarah and I were his only children. She was the golden child, Stanford Law, married to a cardiologist, 2 kids in private school. She'd made it clear since we were teenagers that Dad's business was beneath her. Manual labor, she'd call it with a little wrinkle of her nose. I didn't go to law school to manage construction workers. I was the disappointment, dropped out of community college, worked for Dad since I was 19. Started as grunt labor, worked my way up to project manager. I knew every subcontractor, every supplier, every job site. I knew which guys showed up drunk and which ones you could trust with your life. I knew the business, but Sarah was the lawyer, the smart one, the one Dad bragged about at family dinners. When Dad's will was read, I got 51% of the company. Sarah got 49%. She was furious. "This doesn't make sense," she'd said to the lawyer, Marcus Feldman, a state attorney with 30 years experience and the patience of a saint. "I'm clearly more qualified to run a business. Kyle barely graduated high school." "Your father's instructions were very specific," Feldman had said, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. "Kyle has worked in the business for 12 years. He understands operations. The controlling stake goes to him." Sarah's jaw had clenched. I knew that look. It was the same look she'd had when I'd gotten the larger bedroom when we were kids, when I'd been invited to Dad's poker nights and she hadn't, when Dad had taken me to job sites every Saturday and left her home with Mom. "We'll see about that," she'd said quietly. I should have known then. I should have realized she wasn't going to accept it. The first sign came 4 days after the funeral. Sarah invited me to lunch at this expensive Italian place downtown, somewhere Dad would never have gone. He was more of a burger and beer guy. "I've been thinking," she said over her arugula salad, "about the business, about what's fair." "Okay," I said carefully. "You don't really want to run it, do you? It's so much responsibility, legal compliance, insurance, contracts. You'd have to hire lawyers, accountants. It's overwhelming. I've been managing projects for 5 years, Sarah. I know what I'm doing. Managing projects isn't the same as running a company." She smiled, set down her fork. "I have a proposal. You sign over your shares to me, I'll give you a salary, $150,000 a year for the next 10 years, guaranteed income, no stress. You can still work there if you want, but I'll handle the business side." I did the math in my head, $1.5 million over 10 years. The company was worth nearly 3 times that and growing. "So I give you $4 million in assets and you give me $1.5 million spread over a decade. I'm giving you security, stability. You've never been good with money, Kyle. Remember when you lost your entire paycheck at that casino in Reno? I was 23. It was $800, but she'd never let me forget it. "Thanks for the offer," I said, "but no." Her smile tightened. "Think about it. Really think about it. Dad would want what's best for the business. Dad wanted me to have 51%. If he'd wanted you to run it, he would have said so. Something flickered in her eyes, something cold. We'll talk again, she said. The second sign came a week later. I arrived at the office, Dad's office, now my office, still full of his things, to find Sarah already there. She was going through file cabinets. What are you doing? I asked. Reviewing finances. I'm still a shareholder, Kyle. I have a right to know where our money is. Our money? Yes. I have 49%. Remember? She pulled out a folder, flipped through it. There are some irregularities here, missing invoices, unexplained expenses. Did you know about this? I took the folder. It was from 8 months ago, Dad had been handling everything then. I'll look into it, I said. Maybe I should look into it. I'm a lawyer. I know how to investigate financial discrepancies. Sarah, what are you doing? She met my eyes. Protecting my investment. That's when I noticed the practice signatures. They were on her desk, partially hidden under a legal pad. But I saw them, pages of Dad's name in her handwriting. What's that? I asked, pointing. She glanced down, didn't even flinch. Oh, I was helping Dad with some paperwork before he died. He had arthritis, remember? Sometimes I'd sign for him. That was a lie. Dad's hands were fine until the end, but I let it go because she was my sister, because I wanted to believe she wouldn't actually do anything. I was wrong. 3 days before she locked me in the garage, Sarah called me, asked if I could come to Dad's house to go through some of his things. She was staying there, said she couldn't bear to let it sit empty. I should have been suspicious. Sarah had always hated that house, called it dated, too rural, not her style. But I went because she was grieving, because we were family. When I arrived, she was in Dad's office, surrounded by papers. I found something, she said, her voice was tight, controlled. Something you need to see. She handed me a document. It was dated 6 months before Dad died, a contract amendment showing that I'd borrowed $200,000 from the company. My signature was at the bottom. I never signed this, I said immediately. That's your signature. It's not. I never borrowed money from the company. This is fake, Kyle. I have bank statements. The money went into your account. Show me. She pulled out bank statements, my account number, deposits totaling $200,000 over 3 months. But I'd never seen this money, never had access to it. Someone set up a fake account, I said. This isn't my bank. It's your account number, your social security number, your signature authorizing the transfers. Sarah, I didn't do this. Then who did? We stared at each other, and I saw it in her eyes. She knew exactly who did it. She did it. This is embezzlement, Kyle. Fraud. If I take this to the police, you could go to prison. The company would have to fire you. And with you gone. She trailed off, didn't need to finish. With me gone, she'd inherit controlling interest. I'm calling Feldman, I said, pulling out my phone. This is insane. Wait, she held up her hand. There's another option. You sign over your shares to me right now, and I make this disappear. No police, no investigation, no prison. You forged all of this. Prove it. I have documents, bank records, your signature. What do you have? My hands were shaking, rage or fear, or both. I need time to think. You have 24 hours. After that, I'm calling the police. I left, drove to my apartment, tried to think through my options, but I couldn't prove anything. The signatures looked perfect. The bank statements looked real. If she went to the police with this, I'd be arrested before I could investigate. I called my buddy Marcus Webb. He'd worked for Dad until 2 years ago. Dad had fired him for supposedly stealing equipment, copper wire, power tools, expensive stuff. Marcus claimed he was innocent, that someone was setting him up. He'd been fighting it in court ever since. Who else had access to the storage yard? I asked him. Your sister, Marcus said immediately. She was helping your dad with inventory management. She had keys. She was the one who discovered the missing equipment. Jesus. Yeah, I tried to tell your dad, but he believed her. She's a lawyer. I'm a construction worker with a record. Who's he going to believe? I'm so sorry, man, it's not your fault. But Kyle, be careful. Your sister is smart and she's ruthless. I stayed up all night trying to figure out what to do. By morning, I decided I wasn't signing anything. If Sarah wanted to call the police, let her, I'd fight it, prove the documents were forged, prove the bank account was fake. I called her at 9 a.m. I'm not signing. Silence. Then, okay, come to Dad's house. We'll talk about this like adults. That was my mistake, going to that house. She was waiting in the driveway when I arrived, dressed casually, jeans, sweater, her hair in a ponytail. She looked like the sister I'd grown up with, not like someone planning to destroy me. "I made coffee," she said. "Let's talk this through." I followed her inside. We sat at Dad's kitchen table. She poured coffee, asked about work, about my apartment, small talk, normal. Then, "I really don't want to call the police, Kyle, but I have to protect the business. You understand that, right? There's nothing to protect the business from. I didn't steal anything." "Then where did the money go?" "I don't know, but I'll find out," she sighed. "You're making this harder than it needs to be. I'm not signing." "Okay." She stood. "I need to get something from the garage. Can you help me? There's a box on the high shelf, I can't reach it." It seemed reasonable, innocent. We walked out together. Dad's garage was detached from the house, 20 feet away, big enough for 2 cars and a workshop, metal door with a deadbolt. Dad had installed extra insulation years ago so he could work out there in winter. Sarah opened the door, flipped on the light. "It's that box," she said, pointing to a shelf at the back. I walked in, reached for the box. Behind me, the door slammed, the deadbolt turned. "Sarah," I shouted, spinning around. "What the hell?" "Nobody knows you're here," she said through the metal. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. "I told your boss you were taking a week off. Told your landlord you were visiting family. You're going on vacation, remember, Oregon. Open the door. You have 2 days to think about it. After that, I'm filing the transfer paperwork. By the time anyone finds you, I'll have everything. And if you try to fight it, I'll go to the police with the embezzlement evidence. You'll go to prison. Either way, I win. You can't do this. I already did. There's water under the door if you get thirsty. Think carefully, Kyle." I heard her footsteps, the sound of her car starting, driving away, and then silence. The first 12 hours were rage, pure, impotent rage. I screamed until my voice gave out, kicked the door until my foot throbbed, threw tools against the walls, tried to pry the deadbolt off with a crowbar. The door was solid steel, Dad had built it to last. I searched for anything useful. My phone was gone, I'd left it in my jacket in Dad's kitchen. The garage had no windows, just one small vent in the ceiling, too high and too small to reach. Dad's work truck sat in the middle of the garage, Ford F-250, 10 years old, Dad's pride and joy. I tried the doors, locked. I smashed the driver's side window with a hammer, crawled inside, no keys in the ignition. I checked the visor, the console, under the seats, nothing. The gas tank was half full. I thought about breaking the fuel line, using the fumes to force Sarah to open the door, but that was insane. I'd kill myself before she even noticed. Around hour 15, the reality set in. I was trapped, really trapped, and Sarah wasn't coming back until I agreed to her terms or until she'd finished stealing everything Dad built. I found an old tarp in the corner, wrapped it around myself. The temperature was dropping. November in Northern California means 40-degree nights. The garage wasn't insulated enough for this. I drank the water Sarah had slid under the door, tried to ration it, made it last 6 hours, then it was gone, and I was alone in the dark and the cold with nothing but my thoughts and the growing realization that my sister might actually let me die here. Hour 24, my fingers were going numb, I couldn't feel my toes. I kept moving, pacing, doing jumping jacks, anything to stay warm, but I was getting weaker, dehydrated, exhausted. I thought about Dad, about how he'd built this company from nothing. How he'd wake up at 5 a.m. every day for 40 years, how he'd come home covered in sawdust and concrete dust, grinning, excited about the next job, how Sarah had looked at all of that and seen dollar signs. I thought about Marcus Webb, about how Sarah had framed him, destroyed his reputation, let him take the fall for her theft. I thought about all the practice signatures, the fake bank accounts, the forged documents. She hadn't just decided to do this on impulse. She'd been planning this for months, maybe longer, and I thought, I can't let her win. But I didn't know how to stop her. I was locked in a garage with no phone, no water, and hypothermia setting in. Hour 30, I was getting delirious, seeing things, Dad standing in the corner shaking his head, Mom telling me to be smarter, stronger, better. I climbed back into the truck, tried to sleep, conserve energy. That's when I saw it, the CB radio. Dad had installed it last year. He liked to keep in touch with his foreman on job sites, old school communication. He'd thought it was more reliable than cell phones. I stared at it, my brain felt like it was moving through mud. The truck battery, the CB ran on the truck battery. I reached for the power button, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely press it. Static. The battery was almost dead, the indicator light was dim, flickering. I had maybe 10 minutes, maybe less. I grabbed the mic, pressed the button, my throat was so raw I could barely speak. This is an emergency. I'm locked in a garage at 4725 Maple Road. My sister locked me in. She's trying to steal my father's business. Static, nothing. I tried again, flipped through channels, repeated the message. My voice was barely a whisper. Please, someone. I'm at 4725 Maple Road. I need help. Static, more static. I was about to give up when a voice crackled through. Rough, male, suspicious. Say that address again. 4725 Maple Road, Granite Bay. I'm locked in a garage. My sister, Kyle. I froze. Who is this? Marcus Webb. Jesus Christ. Kyle, is that you? My vision blurred, relief or dehydration or both. Marcus. Yeah, it's me. What the hell is happening? I told him everything, the forged documents, the fake embezzlement, the garage, Sarah's plan. I had maybe 5 minutes of battery left. I talked as fast as I could. When I finished, there was a long pause. Your sister, Marcus said slowly, is the one who testified against me. Told the judge I was a liar and a thief. Cost me my reputation, 2 years of my life fighting those charges. I know. I'm so sorry. She set you up just like she's setting me up. Yeah, Marcus said, his voice had changed, gotten sharper, harder. I know. Can you help me? I'm 10 minutes out. Hang tight. The radio died, the battery indicator went dark. I sat in the truck, wrapped in the tarp, shivering. 10 minutes. I just had to make it 10 minutes. Marcus showed up 12 minutes later. I heard his truck pull into the driveway, heard footsteps, then the sound of metal on metal, bolt cutters. 3 seconds later, the padlock hit the concrete, the door swung open. Sunlight, blinding, beautiful sunlight. I stumbled out blinking. Marcus caught me before I fell. Easy, he said. When's the last time you had water? 30 hours ago, maybe more. He handed me a bottle. I drank so fast I choked. He gave me another one. I drank that too. Where is she? Marcus asked. Meeting with Dad's lawyer this afternoon at 2 p.m. She's going to try to file the transfer paperwork. She has forged signatures, fake documents showing I embezzled from the company. Marcus checked his watch. 12:47 p.m. We've got time. What else does she have? Everything. Bank statements, contracts, emails. She's been building this case for months. Where does she keep it? Dad's house, his office, third drawer of the desk, locked. Marcus grinned. It wasn't a nice grin. It was the grin of someone who'd been waiting 2 years for payback. I still have keys to your dad's office downtown. He never changed the locks after he fired me. Let's get everything she doesn't want found. We drove to Dad's building. My legs barely worked. I was still shaking from the cold. Marcus practically carried me inside. The office was empty. Sarah had given everyone the week off while she sorted through Robert's affairs. That should have been a red flag too. She wanted the office empty so no one would see what she was doing. Marcus knew exactly where to go. Third drawer of Sarah's desk, the one she'd been so protective of. He jimmied it open with a screwdriver. Inside, pages and pages of Dad's signature, practice sheets, dates going back 6 months. She'd been perfecting his handwriting since he'd gotten his terminal diagnosis, since she'd known he was dying. There were emails to Dad's competitors offering to sell them client lists for cash under the table, bank statements showing she'd been siphoning money for 8 months, small amounts, $5,000 here, $3,000 there, always just under the threshold that would trigger an audit. Fake invoices she'd created to move funds into her personal account, shell companies with her husband's name on the registration, a whole financial infrastructure designed to bleed the company dry. And there at the bottom of the drawer, a psychological evaluation, dated last week, claiming I was unstable, prone to violent outbursts, financially irresponsible, and unfit to run a business, signed by Dr. Patricia Chen, clinical psychologist. I'd never met Dr. Patricia Chen. She's thorough, Marcus said, photographing every page with his phone. I'll give her that. She's going to prison, I said. Marcus looked up. Not just prison. I've been working with the California Attorney General's office on a separate fraud investigation, construction industry fraud. Your sister's name came up 3 times in connection with missing funds and forged contracts. What? They've been building a case for 6 months, but they needed solid evidence, direct proof. This, he held up the practice signatures, this is it. He made a call, put it on speaker. Investigator Lisa Ramirez, AG's office. Lisa, it's Marcus Webb. I've got what you need, Robert Mitchell Construction, Sarah Mitchell. I'm looking at months of forged signatures, embezzlement documentation, and fake psychological evaluations. Silence. Then, where are you? Mitchell Construction Headquarters, 2847 Douglas Boulevard, Don't touch anything else. We're 20 minutes out with a warrant. We waited. Marcus gave me a protein bar and more water. I sat in Dad's chair, my chair now, and watched the clock. 1:35 p.m. Sarah was meeting with Feldman at 2 p.m. She'd have all her fake documents, all her forged signatures. She'd try to file the transfer paperwork, take control of the company, and I'd be left with nothing. Except now we had everything. Every piece of evidence she'd carefully constructed to destroy me. Investigator Lisa Ramirez arrived at 1:51 p.m. with 2 other investigators and 2 police officers from the Granite Bay PD. She was early 40s, sharp-eyed, wearing a blazer that looked like it had seen too many long nights. "Show me everything," she said. We showed her the practice signatures, the bank statements, the emails to competitors, the fake psychological evaluation, the shell companies. Marcus pulled up his phone. "I also have photos of the locked garage where she held him prisoner for 36 hours, bolt marks on the door where I cut him out. And we can test his blood. He's got hypothermia markers, dehydration, probably malnutrition." Ramirez looked at me, really looked at me, took in my shaking hands, my chapped lips, the way I was still wrapped in Marcus's spare jacket. "You need a hospital," she said. "I need to be at Feldman's office at 2 p.m. Why?" "Because I want to see her face when she realizes she lost." Ramirez smiled. It was a sharp, professional smile. "Let's go." We arrived at Marcus Feldman's office at 1:58 p.m. His receptionist looked confused when 5 of us walked in. Me, Marcus, Ramirez, and 2 uniformed officers. "I'm sorry, but Mr. Feldman is in a meeting." "We know," Ramirez said. She showed her badge. "We'll wait." We sat in the reception area. The clock on the wall ticked over to 2 p.m. The conference room door opened. Sarah walked in wearing Dad's favorite navy blazer, the one he'd worn to every major client meeting, and carrying a leather folder. Her hair was perfect, her makeup was perfect, her smile was confident and controlled. She saw me and went white. You're supposed to. Locked in your garage," I said. My voice was still raw, but it felt good to use it. "Marcus found me." Funny how things work out. Sarah's eyes darted to Marcus, recognition, fear, rage, all of it flickering across her face in half a second. Then she saw the badges, the uniforms. Investigator Ramirez stood up, so did the police officers. "Sarah Mitchell," Ramirez said, "you're under arrest for fraud, forgery, embezzlement, elder abuse, and unlawful imprisonment." Sarah's folder hit the floor, papers scattered everywhere, all those forged signatures she'd brought to make it official, all those fake documents, all those carefully constructed lies spread across Marcus Feldman's expensive carpet. "This is insane," Sarah said, her lawyer voice controlled, authoritative. "I'm an attorney. I know my rights." "You can't just." "We have a warrant," Ramirez said. She held it up. "Signed 20 minutes ago by Judge Patricia Morrison. We have evidence of systematic fraud dating back 8 months. We have forged signatures. We have embezzlement documentation. We have emails showing you attempted to sell confidential client information. And we have witness testimony that you held your brother prisoner for 36 hours. That's a lie." "He's lying." "I'm not lying," I said. "And I have the hypothermia to prove it, the dehydration, the bruises on my hands from pounding on your door." Sarah looked at me with pure hate. "You ruined everything." "No," I said, "you did." Marcus Feldman had emerged from the conference room, backing away from his desk like Sarah might explode. He looked at me with something like horror. "Kyle, I had no idea." "I know. She played all of us." Marcus Webb leaned against the wall with his arms crossed, watching Sarah squirm. She turned to him. "You," she hissed. "You did this. You set this up." "I answered a CB radio call," Marcus said calmly, "from your brother, who you locked in a garage, who you were trying to frame for embezzlement. Sound familiar?" "I testified in good faith." "You lied. You set me up. You stole equipment and blamed me, cost me 2 years of my life, my reputation, and about $80,000 in legal fees." Sarah's face twisted. "You deserved it. You were trash." The cops stepped forward. One of them, Officer James Martinez, I saw his name tag, pulled out handcuffs. "Turn around, please." Sarah looked at Ramirez. "I'm an attorney. I want to call my lawyer." "You can call from the station." "Turn around." "I'm not turning around. This is a mistake. My brother is mentally unstable. We have documentation." "The documentation you forged," Ramirez said, "signed by Dr. Patricia Chen, who has no record of ever meeting your brother. We already contacted her office. They've never heard of Kyle Mitchell." Sarah's face went white. Officer Martinez took her arm. "Turn around now." She yanked away. "Don't touch me. I know my rights. This is harassment." The second officer, Officer Linda Pack, took Sarah's other arm. Together, they turned her around and cuffed her. Sarah started screaming, not words at first, just incoherent rage. Then, "You're dead to me. You hear me, Kyle? You're dead to me. I hope you rot. I hope the company fails. I hope you lose everything." They started walking her toward the door. She was still screaming, still promising revenge, still insisting I'd regret this. Her perfect blazer got twisted as she fought, her hair came loose from its clip. Her designer handbag fell, spilling its contents across the floor, lipstick, car keys, her phone, and a flash drive labeled transfer documents final. Marcus Webb picked up the flash drive, handed it to Ramirez. "You'll want this too," he said. Ramirez looked at him. "How do you know what's on it?" "Because I know how she thinks, and she'd never come to a meeting like this without digital backups." Ramirez pocketed the drive. "We'll add digital evidence tampering to the charges." Sarah saw this exchange, saw Marcus hand over what was probably her entire scheme in digital form, and she lost it completely. She tried to lunge at Marcus. The cops held her back. She spit at him, missed, called him every name she could think of, some I'd never heard before. Her voice went hoarse, her face went red. This wasn't the composed corporate lawyer anymore. This wasn't the golden child who'd graduated Stanford Law. This was someone watching their carefully constructed empire collapse in real time. Marcus got right in her face. "Remember when you told that judge I was trying to destroy your family? That I was a thief and a liar?" Sarah glared at him. "The state's dropping all charges against me, clearing my record. Turns out you were the thief the whole time. Funny how things work out." Sarah spit again. This time it landed on his shirt. Officer Pack pulled her toward the door. "That's assault. We'll add that to the list." "I'll make you pay," Sarah screamed at me as they dragged her out. "You'll regret this. I swear to God, Kyle, you're going to regret this." Her voice echoed down the hallway, then a door closed, then silence. I stood there shaking, from cold, from exhaustion, from the adrenaline finally wearing off. Marcus Webb put a hand on my shoulder. "You okay?" he asked. "I don't know." Investigator Ramirez turned to me. "You need medical attention, and we'll need your full statement. But Kyle, you did good, you survived, and you gave us everything we needed to put her away." Marcus Feldman was still standing by his desk looking shell-shocked. "I almost filed those documents. If you hadn't come when you did." "But I did," I said. "We did." He nodded slowly. "Your father would be proud of you, for fighting back, for not letting her win." I wasn't sure about that. Dad had always loved Sarah more, believed in her more. Would he be proud, or would he think I'd destroyed the family? But then I remembered the will, 51% to me. Dad had known, on some level, he must have known. Over the next 72 hours, everything unraveled. The Attorney General's office executed search warrants on Sarah's home, her office, her bank accounts. They found 3 more shell companies, 7 more instances of embezzlement, contracts with Dad's competitors showing she'd been selling confidential information for 18 months. The fake psychological evaluation, Dr. Chen was horrified. She'd never signed it. Someone had stolen her signature from a public document and forged it. That was identity theft, medical fraud, more charges. The fake bank account in my name, Sarah had opened it using a stolen copy of my social security card and a forged signature. She'd been depositing company money into it for months, building a paper trail to frame me. Marcus Webb stolen equipment, security footage from the storage yard, footage that had mysteriously disappeared 2 years ago, was recovered from Sarah's laptop. It showed her loading copper wire and power tools into her Mercedes, time-stamped, undeniable. She'd set him up, testified against him in court, destroyed his reputation, all so she could keep stealing. The local news picked up the story. Prominent attorney arrested for fraud became lawyer frames own brother, holds him prisoner became Sarah Mitchell faces 47 criminal counts. Her law firm fired her, her husband filed for divorce. Her kids were pulled from private school and sent to live with his parents while he figured out custody. Everything she'd built, the perfect career, the perfect family, the perfect life, collapsed in less than a week. I spent 2 days in the hospital, severe dehydration, mild hypothermia, malnutrition. The doctors kept asking how long I'd been locked up. When I said 36 hours, they looked at me like I was lucky to be alive. Maybe I was. Marcus Webb visited me on day 2, brought flowers, which made me laugh because I'd never gotten flowers from anyone except girlfriends. "The AG wants to talk to you," he said, "about testifying, but I told them to wait until you're stronger." "I'll testify. I want to testify." "Good, because with your testimony and all the evidence we found, they're saying she could get 15 to 20 years minimum. 15 to 20 years, for forging signatures, for embezzlement, For locking me in a garage, for destroying Marcus's life and then trying to destroy mine. There's something else, Marcus said. The state is offering me full restitution, back wages Dad supposedly owed me, which I now know Sarah stole and blamed on me. Compensation for legal fees. They're also clearing my record officially. That's great, man. I want to come back, Marcus said, to work for you, if you'll have me. I looked at him, this guy who'd been set up, fired, dragged through court for 2 years, and he wanted to come back. Why? I asked. Because your dad gave me a chance when nobody else would. Because this company means something. And because you're not your sister, you're decent. The business should go to someone decent. I thought about that, about decency, about everything Sarah had thrown away for money and control. When can you start? I asked. Marcus grinned. Tomorrow. Sarah's trial was scheduled for 6 months out, but she took a plea deal after 3 months, 15 years in state prison, restitution of $847,000 to the company, permanent disbarment, no possibility of parole for at least 12 years. I wasn't there when she signed the deal, didn't want to be, but Marcus was. He said she looked small, broken, nothing like the woman who'd locked me in that garage. She asked about you, Marcus told me. Asked if you were okay. What did you say? I said you were running the company, doing a good job, that you'd hired me back and we'd just landed 2 major contracts. I said you were everything she wasn't. How'd she take it? She cried. Part of me felt bad for her. Part of me remembered the sound of that deadbolt turning, the 36 hours in the cold, the way she'd smiled and said, "Nobody knows you're here." The part of me that felt bad got smaller every day.